Broncos, Denver Bronco fans, Broncos country, DBR fans. Welcome to the podcast. We've already had a couple of mess ups, so it makes perfectly good sense that I get on here and I start flubbing right off the bat. No, welcome to the show and welcome, Mr. Trevor. How you doing, sir?
Not too bad, Keith. How are you?
Well, I appreciate you asking, man. This outfit I usually don't have the hat on, and this is tattered and torn, weathered and worn. I figured it was appropriate for our Denver Broncos. We're going to jump into this game. This is our recap of the game, and then we'll look a little bit towards the future. So I figured, man, coming off of that game, once again losing to the Kansas City Chiefs, extending that streak back to Peyton Manning even further. Man, tattered and torn, weathered and worn. It was a rough game, buddy. What was your first initial take? What was your first initial thoughts coming off that? Yeah, as the final whistle blew. What were your
Yeah,
thoughts, buddy?
yeah. Just offensive disappointment once again. The offense. I mean, the Jets. I guess the Jets game in the second half, the offense looked lost. But I mean, this whole game against the Chiefs, they look lost. And so I think it's strictly you can blame Russ for it, and yeah, it's partly it's Russ's fault, but I think it's also falls on the head coach and what he's doing. The defense, we got the best, probably one of the better games the defense we had all season long. I mean, they look pretty good against Patrick Mahomes. Say what you want, and with the Chiefs trying to get too cute with some of their plays, possibly, but the defense still stepped up when they needed to, and the offense just didn't deliver. There was just no rhythm at all. It was a disaster offensively, just all the way around, not just Russ, all the way around.
Yeah. I was waiting. I was waiting for it to happen, and there was a little bit. Obviously, we put 8 points up on the board and got a 2-point conversion, and heck of a catch by Cortland Sutton. I'll give him that. Way to bring it in, one hand, fought for the ball, was fighting for it. But yeah, this defense, I don't think we can speak enough to how well this defense actually played. It's going to get overlooked in a game that you end up losing like this, and you end up with a 1-5 season. So, I started going over a few of the stats. KC, we held them to 4 of 13 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth. 4 of 13 on third down. That's pretty dang good. That's what you want to see. 389 total yards on 70 plays. They had plenty of opportunities. They got to 389 yards. And when you're talking about top 3, certainly top 5 offense in the league, and you hold them to 389 yards, Patrick Mahomes, 293 yards, 30 for 41s, and one interception. Can't really complain about that. Held him for under 300 yards, 96 rushing yards on 27 attempts, a 3.6 yard average. They didn't run all over us. It wasn't a 250-yard game. There was a lot of things that were 2 sacks. We held them to 1 of 5 in the red zone. I mean, guys, this is what you wanted. All the people calling for VJ's head for weeks and weeks and weeks. This is about as good as you're going to get going up against one of the top offenses in the league. The other side of the ball didn't show up at all. Waiting for it. That we never flipped that switch. Simple as that.
No, and also it's just people want to blame Russ. Russ is the quarterback, so he's going to get the blame for it. But I mean, it's the offensive line. Michael Lynch continues to be one of the worst offensive line signings by Sean Payton. I mean, he looks lost out there. And to be fair, the Broncos aren't playing to his strengths, but pass pro, he just looks so lost. I mean, he gets beat all the time. And, Chris Jones is just making him, look like like a fool out there. Honestly, just in pass pro. So it's just like it's not just one piece; it's multiple pieces, and it's just when you fix one thing, the next thing starts breaking.
Mike McGlinchey is a 5-year, $87 million a year, or $87 million contract. $87.5 million is what he's getting paid over 5 years. Boy, I'm going to stumble all over my words tonight, buddy. I'm stumbling like the Broncos offense last night. No. 4 years, $87.5 million, man. Big contract. I understand, hey, this is a running This is a run type of tackle, man. Get behind him, run behind him. And we haven't been running the ball a whole lot, not consistently. You're paying him $87.5 million over 4 years. He's got to be able to pass block some. He can't just let, guys run wild all over him week after week. I understand this week was a tough assignment, but every week hasn't been. And he's been on the radar, excuse me, every single week, for some of the worst play on that offensive line. It's bad. It's really bad. I'm going to hit the comments real quick. Got Kenny coming in. Kenny from the amazing K&K Sports Show. Those guys have been ratcheting it up as well. If you guys haven't noticed, we've been trying to ratchet it up over here at the Denver Bronco Roundup, trying to get you a few more shows and get our faces out here a little bit more often. Trevor's been a big part of that, so thank you, Trevor, being able to jump in here on some of these odd nights as well. But Kenny's saying, evening, fellas, looking forward to the show this evening. We're looking forward to having you on here, buddy, and having all our Broncos fans on here. We got Jody coming in, I believe, if I remember correctly. I was just going through here, and he's wondering, just right off the bat, man, let's just knock this one out the bat. I know they were talking about this game a little bit, but is Sean Payton tanking?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's tanked, because I don't think he's taking this job thinking, oh, I'm going to tank for a year and then, we go forward with Caleb Williams, because any head coach that's competitive in the league, they don't want to see their record just go down the drain just because they want to tank. And why would he want to come to Denver when he has Arizona Cardinals and Houston Texans, all these other teams you have better draft capital to rebuild around? Why would he want to come to Denver if he's truly wanting to rebuild? I don't buy that. I don't think ownership brought in Sean Payton to rebuild at all. I think that it's just really turned about the worst it could possibly turn for Sean Payton, and I think he's handled it just about as poor as he possibly could. I don't think that there's any reason to believe that this team's tanking. I think if you set Russ and you trade all these players, then you are sending a clear message to the locker room you're tanking. Is that the best move? I don't know if that's the next era of Denver Broncos football we want to get into, as far as, oh, let's tank for a year. Let's get Caleb Williams and go from there.
Yeah. Who was the team that was supposed to be tanking to start this season?
Or was it? I can't remember what team.
Arizona Cardinals, baby.
Oh, it was Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to move on from Kyler Murray. They need their quarterback. That's not working out so well for them. They're actually being competitive and they're playing in games. The problem is with tanking is it can be all about, man, my voice, all about Sean Payton and him wanting to be able to, tank this team or the GM or the owner. The players are still out there playing. You know what I mean? And to try to get 53 guys on a roster, or 52 or whatever it happens to be, and all the other coaches and you as the head coach be able to tank the entire, and you've got to be able to tank like nobody else from the very, very beginning. Because if you mess up and you win a few games, then you've done this all for naught. I mean, you don't have the draft capital as it sits right now to be playing around and being like, hey, we want to move up to the number one spot. Look at all the draft picks we have. No, we don't have that. And we don't have the players that we can trade away and just be like, oh, great, we've got all these number one picks now that we can move up because we ended up being 12th overall because we didn't tank well enough. I don't think that we're tanking. I think that's something that you can look towards the end of the season. When it gets to those last final 5 games or so, and you're like, man, we're kind of in the running. Maybe we should see some of our rookie talent. Maybe we should make sure that Russ doesn't get hurt because we want to be moving forward with him. Oh, we ended up with the number one pick? Well, maybe we'll think something different. But, at this point, I think it's really difficult to say we're tanking or Sean Payton is tanking. So,
well, and just think about the amount of pressure you'd have if you tank one full year. Well, this team isn't just a year away from being, good. You're going to have, this is probably a 2-3 year window right now where they're going to have to hit on their draft picks and hit on their free agency signings. Sean Payton has not done that to this point. Michael Glinch, Samaje Perine, we've talked about it, Keith. The Broncos have not hit on those guys. Sean Payton has not. So here's the thing is, do you trust Sean Payton to even do a rebuild? He left the Saints for a reason. He didn't want to rebuild there after Drew Brees retired. He left season right after Drew Brees retired.
Yep. Yeah, I don't see it. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to enter into this whole relationship thinking we're going to tank or we're going to tank hard and we're going to get that number 1, number 2 pick, and then we'll be off. No, it just doesn't work that way. I just don't think you can enter in. That's what everyone thought the Arizona Cardinals were going to do. That's not working out for them. They're beating up on the Cowboys and being competitive in every single game. So watch out. I'm going to hit those comments just real quick. Got Jeremy coming in and saying, "Sup, fellas?" Jeremy, appreciate you jumping in here. Good friend of mine and good friend of the show now, too, man. He's been jumping in here quite often. Maybe misery loves company, because we certainly would have had plenty of misery, and we appreciate all the company. Kenny's coming in here. I'm going to edit it a little bit because he jumps in. He says, "I would sign up 100 out of 100 times if you told me the Chiefs would have 1 touchdown the whole game." Yeah, exactly right, bud. 1 touchdown the whole game. The MVP of the game was the 12 points that was put up by the kicker, quite honestly. So just amazing. Just amazing that in a game like that we couldn't end up pulling it out in some way. So.
Well, and then also 3 points were given by Sean Payton when he called timeout and he didn't know what down it was. So if that tells you where Sean Payton's head's at, I mean, that right there is inexcusable as a head coach. That is a rookie head coach mistake right there.
Yeah,
I thought we got rid of Nathaniel Hackett and all these rookie head coaches. It doesn't seem like it right now. I mean, you forget what down it is. You're the head coach. It cost your team 3 points right there. I mean, that could cost you a game. I mean.
I don't know where this. I'm sorry, man. And I'm trying to read comments off to the side. I just saw this one, and I can't. So for some reason, it's not pulling up in my comments. But it says, so I can't give who this is any credit. He says, "I heard someone today say, if you think VJ is turning it around, do you endorse signing him to a 5-year deal today?" Wow. No, I think that this was a fantastic game. I think that the players played with some heart on defense. It's the first time I saw it. After Justin Simmons got that interception, they showed a little clip. He's over there. He's over there talking to the guys, rallying the troops, getting them going. It's a part of, honestly, Justin Simmons, I haven't seen a whole lot of, as his leadership on this team has kind of been questioned. It was good to see. This defense played well, but 5-year deal today, I'm going to have to pass on that one for right now. Trevor, doesn't look like you're going to sign him up anytime soon.
No, 5-year deal for any DC, I think that's giving him too much credit right there. I mean, it's year-to-year thing with DCs and VJ. Listen, if he gives it, if this defense gives this type of effort consistently, then maybe we can talk about it. But not a 5-year deal, but maybe VJ coming back for next year.
Right now, we're thinking of week to week.
Yeah.
Week to week deal.
Yeah.
Can we put him on that contract?
Yeah.
Michael Ronquillo, thank you so much. Ron coming in here as always, coming in here saying, "Good evening, Keith and Trevor." Well, good evening to you, sir. Fantastic to see you, man. Appreciate it so much. So, what else we got up? Oh, hey, we got Mr. Kurt Valente coming in here. I talked about the K&K show at the very beginning. This is the other half. Got Kenny Kirkpatrick, got Kurt Valente saying, "What's up, boys? Appreciate you so much jumping in here, guys, and being part of the show. Check them out, K&K Sports Show. Again, all your major sports on a coast-to-coast basis. So not just that Colorado, entrenchment. We'll get in here and get all deep and detailed about the Broncos and the Nuggets and the Avalanche. And they're like, hey, what about the Knicks? Well, yeah, the Marlins are doing pretty good right now. So if you're looking for all of that, man, I'm telling you, it's your show, man. It's your show. So Kenny's coming in here saying, I have to ask you, are you still giving Sean Payton a pass? Well, I'm going to throw that over to you right now, Trevor, because it looks like you have an opinion. I'll formulate mine a little bit, because I think I'm not as entrenched as you. So are you giving Sean Payton a pass right now?
Absolutely not. I mean, here's the thing. It's his first year, I understand, and the Broncos aren't going to fire him after the year anyways. They have to have continuity at head coach, but here's the thing. It's not only just the coaching. It's also some of his personnel moves. I mean, and he's also not playing Marvin Mims. Why is Marvin Mims not playing? Jalen McGoffin, why is he not giving him the ball more? This man, I mean, he rushes big yards, every time he touches the ball. He's your playmaker. You're not giving it to him. And again, since on the personnel, this team has to hold Sean Payton accountable. I think if you're Greg Penner and your Broncos ownership, I think you have to think about if George Payton is not your GM that's going to hold Sean Payton accountable. You need to have someone that does. You got to have someone to tell Sean Payton no, because his personnel decisions have not worked out to this point in Denver. And I just thought that's my biggest question is, does he? I mean, do you trust Sean Payton with the personnel decision, the final say going forward? Or did he get too much of a long leash at the beginning? I mean, they gave up a ton for him, but it's just like right now, I don't give Sean Payton a pass. This is Sean Payton's fingerprints is on this team right now. Coaching and personnel moves. His fingerprints are on this team, whether we like it or not. It is Sean Payton deserves some fault. He's top of the list right now when it comes to being fault where the team's at 1-5. Ownership did not think that this was going to be this bad. I don't think anybody did.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this a little bit back to you then. At what point, what record would it take through 6 games for quote unquote it not to be Sean Payton's fault? Does a 3-2 record make it okay?
Just it depends on what the offense looks like and the team looks like in general. Is it where we still looking at this offense still being inconsistent? They're getting blown out. Once your defense plays good, your offense not plays good. It's just that whole this team doesn't play together right now. So record wise, I just want to see this team just be good on both sides of the ball. I want to see
the record. You want to see some consistency.
Yeah, exactly. And I think record matters, but again, if this team is just improved, I want to see improvement with this team most importantly, because I understand the first year it's a big ask to ask anybody to turn this team around in a year. The Broncos have been irrelevant for a while now. And so I just want to see this team improve. I'm not seeing this team improve. This team is regressing under Sean Payton right now in a lot of ways. I mean, in a lot of ways, we are in a worse situation than we were last year in some ways.
Yeah. Okay. My opinion, at this point, I'm giving him a pass. And this is the reason being. It's still a first-year head coach who, quite honestly, I think the ownership group had already given up on George Payton. I was so surprised that he wasn't let go right after the draft. And all of Sean Payton's scouts came in and the new GM came in right then. I was shocked. So you have George Payton, who's not making any decisions, and that's obvious. So you have Sean Payton trying to run this from top to bottom, brand new to this team, inherits all these guys, needs to try to make the pieces and the parts fit. He's trying to bring in guys that he knows, whether it be coaches or players, trying to, get that culture, get the verbiage, get the knowledge base kind of brought in. I mean, Marquez Callaway's not on this team anymore, but he may have certainly helped in that wide receiver room. I think he still gets a pass because I think we're in the infancy of what we could see out of this team. Yeah, you have to go out. You go out and you try to sign a couple of big names and on the offensive line because let's face it, it's not like we were set at right tackle and left guard. Everyone when those two guys were brought in, we're kind of like, yes, finally we got some guys. Maybe we paid a little bit too much. Well, I think it'll be okay. So I think we need to take some time, take a little bit of a breath. I know 1-5 is rough. It's not where we want to be. We don't want to be losing to the Chiefs again, and we got them coming up just around the corner. So it's rough, guys. I understand it. But yeah, for right now, I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass. It's a short pass, but, who else is there to run the ship? George Payton's out. It's not like you can turn to, the Penner Group and be like, help me with the draft. Help me find some free agents out here. It's all on Sean Payton. Next year, I think with a new GM, with a second year trying to build this team around what he wants to do, maybe we have something. I know it's panic time. It looks like garbage, guys. I get it. But don't panic.
Question. So if Sean Payton, his personnel decision up to this point, we'll see what he does at the trade deadline. But do you let Sean Payton pick your GM? It's a little dangerous game as your head coach playing your GM. Or is it Greg Penner that's going out taking the GM?
Do have a big ownership group. I know that changed up a little bit with the Walton side of it, but there's still, you still have like Condoleezza Rice, and I know that she's been involved in anything from college national football championships on down. I mean, you have a lot of different people that could help him out with this decision. I don't know if it can't just be Sean Payton being like, guys, I got this. I don't worry about it. You know, no. Don't drop any notes in the opinion box or anything like that. You know, don't worry about it. I got it. Now it can't be just like that. But yeah, it's got to be someone that can work with him and quite honestly kind of keep him in line. I wanted to get back to this game just a little bit before we completely move on. And then I got to get back to these comments because you guys are blowing it up and I appreciate you guys so much. This offense, Russell Wilson, 13 for 22 for 95 yards and a 4.3 yards average. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, took 4 sacks. Now, those sacks aren't all on Russell Wilson. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what happened. Now, some of those I sure wish he could have thrown it away or done something else than just sit back there and kind of get rushed. But that being said, it is what it is. Ended up with a 46.6 rating and a 10.1 QBR at the end of the night. Javonte Williams, 10 for 52 for a 5.2 yard average. Jaleel McLaughlin, 7 for 30 for a 4.3 yard average. Sounds good. Cortland Sutton, the standout star, lit it up for the Denver Broncos in the wide receiving game, went 4 for 46 with an 11.5 yard average and 1 touchdown. Whew. Man, hope you had him on your fantasy team. Right along with number 2 on the team, Samaje Perine, 2 for 16 and an 8 yard average, and Jerry Jeudy rounding out 3 for 14 and a 4.7. Man, this offense was on fire last night. On fire. 115 yard rushings on 23 attempts. They went 1 for 1 in the red zone. We had 2 interceptions and 1 lost fumble. Man, and Sean Payton said it right off the bat. And as soon as that first interception came out, I'm like, whew, can't give up turnovers. Can't do it. It's one of the last things I said on my pregame show. Can't be playing that turnover game. Got to hold on to the ball. First interception. So the ineptness of this offense. You alluded to this too, and just I'll run through these stats really quick, guys. Brandon Johnson took 16 snaps, 31% of all the snaps. He was on the field, I guess you could say. 31% of the time he was on the field. Little Jordan Humphrey, 15 snaps for 29% of the time on the field. Michael Burton, you remember him. He's our fullback. He comes in from time to time, punched it across for a first down. He was on the field for 12 snaps and 23%, and that comes into play because our standout wide receiver, who I didn't list in those receiving stats, Mr. Marvin Mims. 12 snaps, 23% of the time he was on the field. Less than a quarter of the time. Right below that, Greg Dulcich, 11 snaps for 21%. But, guys, he left right before the first half was over and didn't even play in the second half. So Marvin Mims still couldn't, barely outsnap Greg Dulcich after Greg Dulcich didn't play an entire half. We asked for the run game to be, a part of this offense. Sean Payton says it's my fault. Still doesn't look like he did fantastic. 17 attempts between his 2 running backs, and they're averaging 5.2 and 4.3. Can't get Marvin Mims on the field. What is it that's holding Sean Payton back from doing what seems to be obvious to everybody? Trevor, what is it, man? We already said it's not tanking. So what's your opinion there, buddy?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't put my finger on why he's not playing Marvin Mims in general and not running the ball. This is what Sean Payton's offense has been about in the past. I mean, he's expected to come in here in Denver and be a run heavy offense. You've seen it with the signings. Ben Powers, Michael Glinchey, run heavy offensive lineman. And we're seeing the opposite, and we're seeing Sean Payton go away from the strengths of this roster, in my opinion. And that's why you're seeing these guys regress. They're not playing. I mean, they can't play well because you're going away from what they do best. And so I wonder about this as well. If this is not part of the whole Marvin Mims thing, is I wonder if Sean Payton's not trying to audition Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton a little bit more in there. Even if you do, though, that's still it's still a little bit question mark. Why can't Marvin Mims be your third wide receiver on the field?
Mhm.
Why is Brandon Johnson playing over him? I guess that's still that would be the follow up question up to what I just asked. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see it after the deadline if Sutton and Judy or one of them move. Maybe Marvin Mims goes up the depth chart. But this is a guy that the Broncos took with a 3rd round draft pick last year. That's their earliest pick they had last year. Marvin Mims, he's not even seen the field right now, hardly. So it's just like, what are we doing? That's why I'm questioning Sean Payton so much, is because of these type of decisions, and it's ridiculous.
What you really just said, Trevor, is I'm questioning why Keith has given Sean Payton a pass. And that's what that really came down to. It's like, Keith, I can't believe you just said that on live podcast, broadcasting out across the world that you're giving Sean Payton a pass, dude. He's not playing Marvin Mims 23% of the time over Brandon Johnson. Are you kidding me? I get it, buddy. I get it. It's head scratching to me as well. And getting back into the comments, Michael Ronquillo, just getting kind of back to what we were talking about earlier. Sean Payton hasn't drafted a franchise quarterback in the NFL. No, he has not. That is true. He actually inherited one Drew Brees, and that's why I think a lot of people thought maybe inheriting a Russell Wilson is going to be similar. Maybe we can make that happen again. Can't make him into Drew Brees though. That was the big thing. You can't turn him into Drew Brees. Hackett can't turn him into Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? Can't turn him into Drew Brees. So, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling off to the side. We got Kurt coming in here and saying, boys. Oh, by the way, guys, if you look, I dropped in a comment myself. This is like something like facebook.com or streamyard.com/Facebook. If you take that link, that's the link that you can actually go over and say, hey, Facebook, I'll allow you to show my little profile pic and I'll put my name up there instead of Facebook user. If you follow that link, it should get you all set up, guys. So appreciate it if you do that. I'd love to be able to call you guys out. This is Kurt, like I said, and he's saying, boys, you guys are all invited to come on my show Wednesday night. Big time discussion. If you don't know, over on the K&K Sports Show, Kurt, wildest thing in the world, East Coast guy, big Broncos fan, has his own little Broncos show. So check it out. Thank you for the invite. See what we can get done for you as well, Kurt, and see if at 1, 2, 3, 4, who knows how many of us can show up. We'll try our best. I know I might have some issues. I'm going to be a little bit out of town, but maybe we can get these guys on for you, buddy. Appreciate the invite, as always. So, what else we got? Kurt also jumping in here and saying, yes, I'm a huge Peyton guy, but last 6 quarters are not good for him. Yeah, I heard somebody say today, man, last 2 games, he's kind of looked lost out there. Kind of looked lost. Kind of looked, maybe, Amazon Prime can help him out with this play call sheet because they're zooming in on it nice and big for him. But that being said, man, he does. He's looking like he's having a hard time calling the right plays. And, calling timeouts when he's like, oh, boneheaded play by me, last week it was not running the ball enough. Yeah, that one's on me. Well, there's only that one, only so many of those you get, Sean. At some point it's like, hey, you brought me in, paid me a ton of money. I'm supposed to be the guru. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing out there. We need to hear more something like that. Trevor, you took the words out of my mouth, says Kenny. Unacceptable for any head coach at any level to not know the play. This is as bad as Hackett, and everyone would want him gone. This would equally or even worse than Hackett. Sorry, Broncos Nation. Man, okay, well, let's get into it, man. Better or worse than Hackett? Does he get a longer leash? Does his tenure give him a longer leash? Why are we not giving him the Hackett treatment?
Well, the Broncos gave up a 1st and 2nd round draft pick for Sean Payton and gave him $18 million a year. So that's the reason you're not seeing Sean Payton out the door. But also, I think just thinking this Broncos team needs the consistency at head coach. I mean, we've been seeing this rollover for I don't know how many years. It's not working either. That's not a formula that's going to be, up for success for this team. So I want to give Sean Payton another year. What I'm so backfired on is I don't want him having just the personnel decisions because any personnel decision he's made so far has not worked out. So I think that we need to see a GM put his foot down and have a bigger role into what this roster looks like than Sean Payton. If that's not going to be George Payton, you can't have. We've seen it with Bill Belichick and we've seen it with Bill O'Brien and other head coaches around the league. When they're in charge, it's not looking so good. I mean, Bill Belichick had all the success he had because he had a franchise Hall of Fame quarterback in Tom Brady. But I mean, we're not seeing it right now, and it's just with Bill Belichick. So it's just something to be worried about going forward. Is that what we want with Sean Payton? Because it could blow up in Denver's face. So is it worse than Hackett? It's getting there. I'm not ready to call it that bad yet, but it's getting there. And that game last night with the boneheaded, not knowing what the down was, that's a major red flag for me right now.
Well, it's funny because it was just a little bit ago that we heard Sean Payton criticizing Russell Wilson for almost the same thing, saying, hey, man, he's got to get better at this. He's got to be better in game time situations. He's got to get the call done quicker. We're taking timeouts when we shouldn't, because of, all of this. Maybe you should go to a wristband, the whole 9 yards. Man, you got to know what's going on, too. You got to know the situation, Sean Payton. Man, it's, like you said, a lot of draft picks. A lot of money. I went over Mike McGlinchey and kind of criticized him for his play for the money. Well, that's a big contract that Sean Payton's getting paid as well. There needs to be some criticism. That being said, Michael Ronquillo coming in and saying Sean Payton is coming in a mess in the first year with the Broncos. That being said, no pass for Sean Payton from him. So I guess more of a vote in your favor, buddy. I don't know if I'm going to get so many passes. It's going to be tough for other people to jump on board with me, on the Keith train and say, hey, let's give Sean Payton a pass when you're sitting at 1-5. Your offense has been sporadic. Your defense has been horrific outside of maybe this game, and yeah, jump on board let's give Sean Payton a pass. Come on, guys. No, guys, it takes a while. It takes some time, Even if you have all the draft capital, even if you have the coach, even if you get the top QB, how's Carolina doing? They got the coach they wanted. They got the top pick in the draft. They went out and got Bryce Young, put it all together, man. They're going to be good. No, not good. Okay, well, we'll do the second quarterback taken. C.J. Stroud, Texans. Playing hard, maybe got more wins than the Broncos, but still, it's not like they turned it around in one season. They're heading to the playoffs, guaranteed. Put it on the paper, book it. No, it takes some time, man. It takes some time to build this around, and that's the only reason I'm saying I'm giving him a pass. I think he was forced into trying to make this happen quickly. That's why he brought in all these players that AKA didn't work out. Getting to that guy. Trevor, we saw another departure. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make another trade with the 49ers or anybody else. But we did get some relief because this guy readjusted his contract so that, it would make it easier for this to happen. But Mr. Frank Clark is no longer a Denver Bronco. Never really had an impact for that matter either. But, is that another mistake by Sean Payton, by George Payton, by this team this year? Was he underutilized? Was it just a bad signing? Is he going to blow it up for somebody else? Trevor, talk about Frank Clark being here, not being here.
Yeah, Frank Clark, I mean, this is the guy that was kind of Kansas City Chief coming into Denver from the get-go. He talked about the rivalry, it's not a rivalry because, the Chiefs are not it's not being competitive or anything like that. And so that automatically is a red flag. But yeah, I think this is a Sean Payton thing. Again, I think that Sean Payton had from the get-go when he got hired, he had took over all personnel decisions from then on. Frank Clark, Denver really underutilized him in my opinion. I think that they played him at linebacker, outside linebacker more or less, and I think he's more of a defensive end type. And I think I would have put him on the defensive line, no doubt. And that's why he's been more successful in his career when he was with Seattle, when he was with KC, and there's also rumors he's going to go back to Kansas City, so I'm not really surprised on that. But so I think he's under, just a wasted signing again by Sean Payton. This is why I'm criticizing him. It's another sign that just did not work out whatsoever. And And I mean, he'll probably go to the Chiefs and he'll probably be in the playoffs competing for another Super Bowl again and tell him what the Broncos were doing. And it was clear, I think, his days that Frank Clark wanted to be out of Denver, taking that big of a pay cut and then leaving. I
Oh yeah.
mean, it just doesn't happen. You just don't see players take that much of a pay cut. And so definitely he wanted to be gone. It's a shame the Broncos couldn't get anything in a trade for him. I thought they could at least get a 7th-round draft pick, but it just shows you teams, weren't going to trade, a pick for him, and they knew that Broncos were just going to release him regardless. So it's unfortunate, but what do you do?
Do you think he could have been something in this defense, just completely underutilized? Do you think? I mean, I'm going to bring this up real quick because Jody's jumping in and saying the Lions started 1-6 last year and then went 7-1 to finish. Sure would be nice to have a Frank Clark to go down the stretch on a 7-1. Did we miss out altogether?
Yeah, I think we did. I think that again, I think that starting him out as a linebacker, just his speed's not there. He's got the body type and the size to be a defensive end. I don't understand why they ever put him on outside linebacker. I actually looked at the depth chart the other day, and you put him there, and it's just like, I don't know. It's not something that his career that it's been successful for him. I think that on the defensive line, if he can, rush the quarterback, if you can have more pass rush, that's the thing we're missing. Pass rushing on that defensive line in particular, you're not seeing that. And I think Frank Clark could at least brought something to the table. I don't know that he'd be a double-digit sack guy again. This is a guy that could brought more production. I think that what you're seeing from like Jonathan Harris type on the defensive line.
Maybe rotate him in on that Jonathan Cooper role. Honestly, man, I would have liked to seen him kind of, rotate out just a little bit. I know that's not the position that you're talking about, but I'd still would have liked to seen him a little bit more than we ever did. I think he has potential, and it's kind of a waste never to really see him truly suit up. I mean, I know he played in 2 games, but I'd have to look at snap counts. There wasn't a whole lot of snap counts in the 2 games he suited up for. So, Kenny, I want to get to this real quick. He says, but Keith, you can't bash Hackett and then make similar mistakes, in my opinion. The big thing that I would say is Hackett had Russ looking like hot garbage. Simple as that. I mean, don't get me wrong, this Kansas City game did not look good. But it didn't look good on all aspects. Those wide receivers, there's part of it that you scheme open, and part of it sometimes you just have to get open. Well, I didn't see those wide receivers getting open at all. At all. Didn't matter if it was one-on-one coverage. They showed some great clips of that. Those guys are just locked up tight. You can't get any separation. None. Zero. You don't got any moves to get you a 1.5 yard break away from that guy. Amazing. It's why these guys are being questioned for their effort. What kind of tight end production are you getting out of this team right now? You rushed Dulcich back way too soon. Get him out on the field only to get hurt. Quite honestly, yeah, it was going to be a tough row. And then, yeah, it was when you did want to run the ball and pick up a first down, there was multiple opportunities on short yardage where we just couldn't get it done. And you should have been able to get it done. 3rd and 2, line it up. You got Mike McGlinchey. You got Ben Powers. Heck, you're putting in Quinn Bailey into the backfield as an extra blocker. Still can't get it done. We tried. And so this game aside, there's been a lot better Russell Wilson play than I ever would have expected. I was not a Russell Wilson, rah guy. I didn't, quite honestly, he's playing quite well outside of this week. I get it, but he needs a little bit of help. So, what's your opinion on this? Am I letting Sean Payton way off the hook and compared to Hackett? Are you in a way as well, Trevor?
I don't know. I think that again, Sean Payton needs some accountability. I understand to a point why you would give him a little bit of a leash, and regardless, the Broncos are not going to fire him anyway. So, but I mean, I don't know. I think Hackett, one thing to say is Justin Alden, when a guy that Nathaniel Hackett hired, got the most out of Russ, arguably so, when he was the OC last couple of weeks of the season when Rosberg took over. And so he got more out of Russ than Hackett did. And he got out. I mean, so it's just, I don't know. I think that Hackett was over his head, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he never knew what to do with Russ. I think he just didn't know what to do as a head coach in total. I was against the move from the start. It's a guy that just he struggles to call plays, and I think truly fit his scheme around players that fit their strengths. I think we're seeing that with Sean Payton right now too, in my opinion. But I think Sean Payton, hopefully, he can adjust to it, being that he has experience in the NFL, and we're not seeing it as bad. We're not seeing the play clock exactly wind down and the fan scream yet, but it's it's something that I think that hopefully can be a work in progress for Sean Payton with his experience.
All right, man. I'm going to hit just a couple of comments just really quick just to get kind of caught up. Michael Ronquillo coming in on YouTube saying tackle Alex Palczewski played late in the game against the Chiefs, and he has a future in the NFL. And I think that's certainly a possibility depending upon, some of the moves that we make, especially, as the trade deadline looms, I guess is the best way to put it. And then as his offseason comes around as well. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying 2 fumbles against the Jets is why the wide receiver Marvin Mims didn't play, I guess. How you feel about that one, buddy?
Well, that's the thing is, though, Sean Payton also post-game said that he didn't blame those on Marvin Mims. So again, it's just, and he's a rookie. How is he supposed to learn if he's out there playing?
I get that.
He's on the sideline and he's watching. What's watching going to do? Yeah, you can watch film. That's fine, but you need to be on the field. This is a rookie that when you start to get good, that needs to be one of your guys, one of your playmakers. And how is he going to be one of your playmakers in the future if he's sitting on the sidelines not playing at all? I get if you want to, go out there and you want to try to get the most value you can for Judy and Sutton, but Marvin Mims needs to be playing regardless out there. He's your top pick from last year because you didn't have a first or second round draft pick. This is the guy you took in the 3rd round. He needs to be playing. I mean, I don't understand.
I agree with you, man. And quite honestly, I liked his resiliency when he's had issues. There's a lot of guys that would really completely mess him up, and he goes right back out there and he contributes and he comes up with big plays. It doesn't phase him, which is tough for a rookie. That's good stuff. That's why he needs to be out there. He's also just coming in here and saying Jeff Ireland is one name to look out for the GM, and I've definitely heard that. We've heard that kind of thrown around. So, probably going to be in the list of names that we would see. Also, some Bronco offensive players didn't want to be out there. I think we saw a little bit of that. And boy, I'm right there with you, Michael Ronquillo. I'll be honest, when I start looking at wide receiver talent, I always make sure I just check in with LSU. I don't care what their record is. I don't care what who their quarterback is. They, for some reason, have talent at wide receiver, regardless. Cornerback too, by the way. But my goodness, I was a huge Justin Jefferson fan. I wanted Justin Jefferson, and I am right there with you. Do you remember how you were feeling in that draft and where you had Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy? We also had, of course, CeeDee Lamb and Riggs in there and everybody. It was a loaded wide receiver draft.
Yeah, I actually was a Henry Ruggs fan back then, but that just kind of blew up. I think that was
it's fair, man. Hey, we all had our reasons. So
yeah, he's just a guy that looked like the next version of Tyreek Hill, in my opinion. So that's why I was like, well, if you can't beat Tyreek Hill, why don't you just try to match it? And with getting Henry Ruggs, and I think unfortunately he just had a bad situation with the Raiders. I think that didn't help at all. He didn't have any guidance throughout that organization, unfortunately. So he always would have been curious of what he could have done here in Denver, but he was, in my opinion, just the next Tyreek Hill type player that, and we just don't see that come in the league that often.
Good call out, man. He was electric, man. He was twitchy. He was small. He was fast. And Broncos will regret trading Jerry Jeudy. He has to stay. That's Brad Smith that's coming in here kind of late, and we appreciate you joining in, Brad. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that Jerry Jeudy needs to stay? Is Jerry Jeudy the better choice to stay over Cortland Sutton?
Honestly, here's the thing with Jerry Jeudy. His contract's cheaper, but if you can get value for him, I think you got to move on now. I mean, his locker room presence has not been good. I don't think he would stay in Denver long term anyways from some of the reactions that I've seen from him. and he's just kind of being a little bit of a nuisance right now. And I wonder if he's not trying to find his way out. Um, that being said, Broncos can't just release Jerry Jeudy or just give him up for, I think, a 5th-round draft pick. You need to get value for him. You can't just be
Yeah.
giving up these players just for nothing. And same goes for Portland Sutton. Actually, both of them, if you can get good value for both of them, I would be moving on from both of them. Cortland Sutton, he's a veteran that just hasn't won here in Denver. His contract's huge. And this is one of the most expensive wide receiver groups in the NFL. And I think that you're not getting the production from these guys. That's why I say it's not just on Russ. These receivers are starting not getting open. It's just if you watch the film. And Sutton, had a good catch there, but it's just that production's not been there from Sutton. So I think if you can find a way to move on from both, I think you try.
Wow, not one or the other, both, eh, baby?
Yeah,
both. He's saying not one or the other. I'm going with both. Got another one coming in here. This is Clayton coming in here, man. I haven't heard from Clayton in a while. He says, "Hey guys, smash that like button and share, guys." Well, we appreciate it. We're probably coming up on the end of the show. We came on here about 7:00, Clayton. So if you get a chance, or if you hadn't and you're just coming in here late with the comments, go back, watch the show, man. It's been a great show, and we appreciate everyone that's coming in here. And yeah, Brad's coming in here and bringing up a point. Tim Patrick injury doesn't help a lot with all the attention that's going to Jerry. It also doesn't help with that most expensive wide receiver group, as we've went now 2 years without seeing really much of Tim Patrick at all. So, at all. I forget. It was training camp 2 years in a row. It was almost to the day. So that hurts as well. But yeah, I think you relied on a guy like that. Obviously, the contract says you relied on a guy like that. You're trying to fill in with other people. You try to draft as high as you possibly can to bring in a wide receiver. You don't play him, but you draft him high. It hurts, man. It hurts. Tim Patrick is a heck of a guy and a heck of a player, and probably had the most heart of any wide receiver that we've had on our roster over the last few years. And that being said, I don't know if he's going to have an NFL career. Back-to-back, big injuries, getting older. Team's going to have to take a flyer on him, and he's going to have to hold up, and he's going to have to work his way back up a roster if he makes it onto a 52-man roster again, in my opinion. But it's sad because Tim Patrick, like Michael Ronquillo saying, I really miss him. I imagine you feel the same, Trevor. And after this, I think we do need to start wrapping up and getting on out of here. I do want to get a few thoughts on a few things that I put on our agenda, but I don't know. Comments have just been going crazy, man. So we appreciate everybody.
Yeah, Tim Patrick, he's a guy the Broncos had a lot of praise for. They gave him that big contract. I remember when they gave him that contract, they were trying to get ahead of the market. I understand what George Paton was trying to do there. He did the same thing with Cortland Sutton. He just has, unfortunately, it's just something that you can't control. People say, well, George Paton can control injuries, or GMs can control injuries. Not really. I mean, it's really hard to project that type of injury happening 2 years in a row. And I feel for Tim Patrick. Hopefully he can land with the team. Maybe he restructures and comes back to Denver, and the Broncos will give him a chance. I don't know. But the Broncos will really miss him just being that guy who can go up and get the ball on the opposite side of Cortland Sutton. So I think it's put a lot more pressure on guys like Jerry Jeudy to perform, and he just has not done it to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And just be that professional within that room. Again, it's you go from Cortland Sutton down to Jerry Jeudy, and then it keeps falling from there. These are the two main guys without Tim Patrick being there, and Tim Patrick was the glue in that wide receiver room. So it's really tough, man. You even hear Cortland Sutton still talking about him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I talked to Timmy P. Yeah, he's good. He's rooting us on, stuff like that." So a couple of things that I just wanted to get to. I'm going to let you run through this really quick because we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to let this be the all Trevor portion of the show. And by the way, I'm going to be reworking our intro because right now it's got Albert, it's got Jody, it's got me, it's got no Trevor. And Trevor needs a little bit more FaceTime in that intro. But that being said, Trevor, a little bit of FaceTime right now. Who are the next players to leave this team after Frank Clark?
I
Go through your list of who you think are going to leave from highest probability, maybe down. Give us, 2, 3, 4.
I think, well, before the Frank Clark releasing, I think that Frank Clark was no doubt. I mean, I say he's 99% chance he was gone.
Yeah.
After that, I think it's Jerry Jeudy. I think that Jerry Jeudy just has pushed his way out. And again, I just hope that Denver does not take way less to push him out the door, because I think he's such a talented wide receiver. And I just think you can't be giving away talent. My biggest fear is him just having success elsewhere in a different locker room. And then I would say, Justin Simmons, if you can get a good pick for him. I love Justin Simmons. We all do. But unfortunately, it's just you have to get the value for him if you get a chance to. You don't have a second-round draft pick. There's been rumors that if you can get a second-round draft pick, you should pull that trigger, and you probably should. With limited draft capital, it's really hard to big drop-off from the first round to the third round for Denver. I would say also Joseph Jewell should be a guy that I think that should be shopping around. He's got 1 year left on his deal. I think if you can get something for him, if you're not going to resign him, then you need to get something for him. Again, the Broncos have really struggled covering tight ends. Travis Kelce, I mean, it was just a nightmare last night watching that. And I just think if you can take advantage of that value and not have to pay him big money, then I think you get a chance to do so. Garrett Bowles as well. He's been really spotty. I would wonder. I think he's going to be least likely to be moved, because I just think that's a left tackle. You're putting Russ in a really difficult situation, or even if you start Jared Stidham and putting him in a bad situation, left tackle. And I just don't know left tackle is a really big hole to fill.
Yeah.
So I just don't see them really moving on from Garrett Bowles right now. But he's the least likely on my list as of right now.
Very good. And the big question, and I'll just put it to you: do the Broncos move on from PS2 before the trade deadline?
No,
Okay.
I don't think there's a shot at it, because I think I've heard from multiple people that I trust that they're not even shopping around. So I don't see it. I think he's a part of this team's next core going forward.
I like it, man. I mean, I don't think it's a trade deadline thing. I did hear someone speculate, hey, do you take Patrick Surtain and use him to trade up in order to get Caleb Williams if you're in that position to do so? Now, that's a little more interesting. That will take a little bit more calculation to see if that's what we want to be doing. Depends on also where you're moving from and what that value looks like. But man, if you're just outside the realm and it's going to give you the ammunition that's needed, oh boy, I don't know. Decisions. Few others real quick. I said, what's next? At 1-5, man, what direction are we going? Are we entrenched in trying to win games? Are we trying to just get rid of as many pieces and pick up draft picks and play the rest of the season? Are we going to be like those Detroit Lions that Jody mentioned and go on that 7-1 run? Are we gonna be looking at a dismantling, I guess, in a wind down towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I think the next couple of weeks in particular, I think you're looking at this team just sawing off some pieces and getting as much as they possibly can. This team will never quit. Sean Payton's not going to quit. Russell Wilson's not going to quit regardless of who's still here in Denver. But I think you have to start selling off pieces. You have, 6 draft picks in total right now? I mean, you have to start moving off pieces and look towards the future. This is a 1-5 football team. I don't see this team being the Detroit Lions and going 7-1 right now. Unfortunately, I just don't see it happening. You see a team that's starting to regress, I think, these past couple of weeks. And you got to be competitive, obviously, and you got to see what you got from Russ the rest of the year. I know he's had 2 bad games in a row right now. But I think you have to see what you have with Russ before you for sure move on from him in the offseason. But I think that, you have to look for the future, but you also have to live in the present right now.
Okay, last one, man. Last one I had on that agenda that we put out. Is this a player problem or is this a coaching problem? Now, a player problem could be the wrong players were brought in. The players aren't playing right. The coaching is obviously, are we talking about head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, you name it, coaching? We're 1-5, man. If you had to put the blame heavier on one side, Is it players or is it coaches?
Ooh, I would say if I had to go one side, I'd probably say coaches a little bit. I think that
Give me your percentage then. How's that?
okay.
Because if it's like a 52% coaches, then I understand that you're kind of why you're a little bit more up in the air.
Yeah, I would say ooh, that's a good one. I'd say probably like I'd say it's 52%. I would say probably coaches, and then I would say the others like about 40%. I just think that this team is not as bad as they have been playing. I mean, this is just worst case scenario, 1-5. I mean, this team just looks lost right
Yeah.
now, and this is a team that with Hackett, this is a better team last year, and it's just like but also think
Ooh.
that the talent wasn't. It's not exactly there either. I think it's a little bit of both. If I'm being like I can take both sides, but
Yeah.
I do think that Hackett is a guy that, or excuse me, Sean Payton's a guy that it's been really bad from the get go. From when he started out, coming in, calling out, your team president, your GM, PR staff, everything, calling out Nathaniel Hackett. I don't mind him calling out Russell Wilson because here's the thing: Russell Wilson needed a reality check, just what it
Yeah.
was. But
Players need that.
the rest, you're throwing all your people that you're supposed to be working with under the bus before you even step field and on the field and coaching. I just don't see it. I think it's Sean Payton he's starting to become an issue, and I hope that moving
Ooh.
forward he is going to be better because he's a veteran coach. I hope he adjusts his team eventually. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt there, and I know that the Broncos won't be moving on from him this year anyways. He's got probably a 2 to 3 year window, but I do think that Sean Payton has been quite a bit of an issue here in Denver. And also with VJ, bringing VJ in and the defense regressing, and the offense has been regressing as well.
Man, you're nailing it all the way across the board, man. You got Kenny coming in saying 60-40 coaches. Defense gave up 70 points and could have been more in one game. Also stupid blunders. But these are mostly the same players as last year. So why is it the case? I agree completely. Michael Ronquillo coming in, the exact same percentages, 40% on the players, 60% on the coaching. Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't get me wrong. George Payton and the depth that he gave this team so far, Sean Payton as well as he's kind of came in. I get it, but George Payton set up this team up until this last year, and this team is not stocked. It doesn't have a bunch of winners on it, and that's where we're going to have to kind of turn to is find out who we have for winners and which winners can stay on this roster. So, guys, wish we could stay with you, but we are hour and 5 minutes, maybe about an hour. Actually, we were a little bit late getting in here, so we're probably about right on time. I'm going to go ahead and I know that Trevor, you've been talking a lot, and I appreciate it, man, because you had some fantastic takes tonight, just like all of our guests, of course. And maybe I'll just say that real quick. Michael Ronquillo, appreciate you very much coming in on YouTube. He knows where it's at. YouTube, if you're not already subscribed, we're going to have a little giveaway, and that should be coming up here pretty soon, guys. And we're going to go ahead and throw that giveaway out there. I'm not going to bore you with throwing it up on the screen, but it's a Jonathan Harris signed training camp memorabilia piece. So signed by him. It'll go in an envelope out to one of you guys who are a YouTube subscriber. So you need to go over there and you need to check us out over there. Also, please, if you can, make sure you follow that link for StreamYard so I can get your guys' faces and your profiles up here. I'd appreciate it a ton. So, guys, the friends that I want to say thanks to, again, we had Kenny and Kurt. We had Clayton in here. I'm trying to go back, but I can't get everybody. We had Brad Smith that jumped in. I appreciate you, Brad. Hadn't seen you in a little while. Anybody else that you remember? Because my comment section is really, really, really tiny now. But honestly, guys, thanks to everyone. Trevor, I'll let you, if you remember anybody else, go ahead and throw their name out there. If not, I just want you to go ahead and give us a little wrap up, and then I'll get us wrapped up as well and get us out of here.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick thanks to everybody who joined tonight. We really appreciate you guys' support. You guys make this possible for us, and we're really excited to continue to bring more and more shows to this to the Denver Bronco Roundup. So, one quick note I want to make: if we're talking about GMs going forward, the Broncos should be looking at if they do indeed fire George Payton, Adam Peters, assistant GM from the 49ers.
Okay.
He's a guy that spent in Denver from 2009 to 2016, so he was around for a lot of the winning time in Denver.
Hmm.
So that's a guy that I think we should be looking at. I don't know if it's a Sean Payton hire, but that's probably a Greg Penner possible hire. He's got ties in the Broncos organization, so I think that should be a name we possibly look at if we're down the line.
Like it, man. Like it a lot, man. So I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate Trevor. Trevor, again, fantastic show. Appreciate you jumping in here. Like Michael Ronquillo saying, great show tonight, Keith and Trevor. Big hearts for us and big hearts for you. Appreciate the big support from you and every single one of our watchers, viewers, listeners out there. Thank you guys so much. Like Trevor said, wouldn't do it, couldn't do it if it wasn't for you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for a fantastic Denver Bronco Roundup. Just as a reminder, we are part of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and we're brought to you by the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. So, got to get Michael Ronquillo's comment off there. Oh, no. We'll hide that comment because behind that, got the website RockyMountainSN.com. That's RockyMountainSN.com. We're going to cover all your Colorado sports. And by the way, you can also check us out on Facebook. If you just go in there and you check out Rocky Mountain Sports Network in the groups, it'll pull right up. I know on both of those places right now, you have links to the website, or you're on the website, one of the two. A brand new Nuggets piece just landed out there. So if you guys are a little Colorado fans and not just Bronco fans, maybe want to get on that Nuggets train, because I'll tell you, they're looking pretty good. I'm calling it. They might be able to run it back right now, man. They have not slowed down one bit, looked good in the preseason, and that's what that article is all about. So check out RockyMountainSportsNetwork.com. Again, for all of your Colorado sports, whether it be Nuggets, Avalanche, Broncos, or the Rockies even. We'll even talk Rockies. I don't know if anybody's listening, but we'll talk Rockies. Also, guys, Willow Seasonings and Blends is our fantastic sponsor. Check them out at willowseasonings.com. Now, guys, this is a award-winning blue ribbon spices, rubs, sauces. This is a Bronco fan. This is a veteran. This is a guy that lives in Colorado. All those reasons are the reasons you should be heading over to willowseasonings.com to stock up on all your barbecue needs. So if you head over there, use promo code DBR for Denver Bronco Roundup. That's DBR 2023. It'll get you 15% off, and it helps a family in need. He's giving you a $1 every time you guys use that code. So, really help out a family. Buy a bottle at a time. And then stock up, one bottle, add it to the cart, check out. One bottle, add it to the cart, check out. Just, really help a family. No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate you guys. Head on over. Fantastic rubs and sauces. He has them. I know that I said it's Colorado owned, guys, but he has them in stores all throughout the West, Midwest, East Coast. That's how good these rubs and sauces are. These are going into places like high-end barbecue places, high-end meat shops. They know what they're talking about, guys. You should know what you're talking about, too. And head on over to willowseasonings.com. That being said, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. As always, Denver Bronco Roundup. Stay up to your alerts, guys. We're adding more and more shows. We're going to be, mixing it up and getting different guys on here like Trevor and me and Jody and Albert and mixing up some teams. So appreciate you guys so much. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on X. Follow us on what's the other? YouTube. Yes, YouTube. Follow, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you guys so much. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all soon. Until then, good night, everyone.